In the previous lessons, I showed you how you can create 2D shapes in Solidworks and edit them. In the following lessons, I will show you how you can finally create 3D objects and how you can edit those objects. At this point, I should mention that you cannot create a 3D object in Solidworks if you haven't created a 2D profile beforehand. So before you start creating 3D objects, you have to create the 2D profiles you need to extrude. In this lesson, I will show you the most common extrusion tool, which is the Extruded Boss base tool. As you can see, I have already created a 2D shape and I want to extrude this profile to create a 3D object. I will go to the Feature ribbon and I will activate the Extruded Boss base tool. Once I activate the tool, I have to select the profile I want to extrude. All I have to do is select a side of the profile and a preview of the 3D object appears automatically. In addition, the parameters of the Boss Extrude tool appear in the Property Manager palette. I can specify up to where the profile will be extruded from the first field of the Direction 1 area. With the blind option selected, the height of the extrusion is specified in the Distance 1 field. At the moment, this height is 10 mm. I will change this value to 20 and I will press Enter. Notice that the preview changed automatically. If I want to extrude the profile in the reverse direction, all I have to do is click on the reverse direction button. However, in this example, I will restore the direction of the extrusion. You can also add draft to the extruded feature if you activate the draft option. Once you activate this option, you have to specify the draft angle. I will specify the draft angle to 15 degrees and notice how the 3D object changes. Now if I activate the draft outward option, then the direction of the draft changes. At this point, I will deactivate the draft option and I will activate the Direction 2 option. In this way, I can extrude the profile in both sides. I can also specify a different height for the extrusion in each side. At the moment, the height of the extrusion in each side is different. The Distance 1 field is 20 mm, while the Distance 2 field is 10 mm. At this point, I will activate the Thin Feature option. Using the Thin Feature, you can create an object which will be hollow inside. In this example, a frame is created and its thickness is 10 mm. I will orbit the view a little to understand better what I mean. Now I will change the value in the Thickness 1 field to 25 mm. Notice that the thickness is added to the outer side of the rectangle. If I click the reverse direction button from the Thin Feature area, then the thickness changes and it's added to the inner side of the rectangle. Now we'll expand the list next to the reverse direction icon to show you all the available options. If I select the midplane option, then half of the thickness will be added to the outer side and half of the thickness to the inner side. I will expand the list again and now will select the 2 direction option. Notice that the Thickness 2 field appeared below Thickness 1. In this way, the thickness in the outer and inner side of the rectangle will be different. For example, I will type 20 in the Thickness 1 field and 5 in the Thickness 2 field. Notice that the object is 20 mm thick in the outer side and 5 mm thick in the inner side. Now we'll deactivate the Thin Feature option and I will also deactivate the Direction 2 option. Once I have reached the desired result, I will click on the check mark to create the object. It is very important to mention that if I change something in the sketch, this change will affect the object. If the change is too complicated and Solidworks cannot rebuild the object, then an error message will appear. On the other hand, if the change is not so complicated, then the solid object will be adjusted accordingly and Solidworks will rebuild the model. At this point, I will go to the Feature Manager design tree and I will expand the Boss Extrude 1 feature. Once I do, I can find the Sketch 1. I will click on it and I will select the Edit Sketch option. I will select one of its sides and I will change its length to 100. Now the rectangle changed into a square. Next, I will create a 3-point arc on the top side of the square. Once I do this, I will also create a circle and I will set its radius to 7. I will click on the check mark of the Property Manager palette and I will exit the sketch. Notice that the solid object was adjusted according to the new sketch. The circle and the arc, though, did not affect the solid object in any way. To make use of them, I have to edit the solid object. So this time I will click in the Boss Extrude 1 and I will select the Edit Feature option. Once I do, all the parameters of the extrusion appear in the Property Manager palette. At this point, I should mention that the only option that doesn't appear after I create a solid is the Thin Feature option. This option is available only while creating the solid object. Consequently, if I activate the Thin Feature option during the creation of an object, then I cannot deactivate it when I edit the object. Now, back to the example, I want to extrude a few more profiles. So I will activate the Selected Contours field, which can be found at the bottom of the Property Manager palette. With this field active, I will select every region that I want to extrude. Every region I select, it is added automatically in this field and it appears as a new item. Once I select a region, it is extruded automatically using the same extrusion height as the rest of the profiles. Now I will add another region by selecting the circle. Notice that the circular region was extruded too. If I want to remove a region from the extrusion, I can do it easily if I select it from the Selected Contours field and press Delete. Once I have selected all the regions and profiles I need to extrude, I will click on the check mark to create the final object. So this is how the Extruded Boss base tool works. Now you can create your own solid objects by extruding the profiles you have created.